Okay, so we will be continuing with chapter 8. Chapter 8 or chapter 8 we will be looking at how can I succeed working under poor leadership. Okay, so for this chapter we will try to look at how from our side that maybe we will be will encounter leaders that have different types of uh, different types of leaders that have poor leadership in different areas. So this chapter help us to identify and also give some practical ways to try to overcome and also try to uh, decide whether do we want to continue to stay, or if we are continue to stay, then how can we do the best from our side, that the part that we can control lah. Oh, okay. Okay, so in this. Okay, so in this chapter that if we want to looking we cannot sometimes in workplace or during in a team job, we will be placed under a leadership of some under some positional leadership leaders. Then when we started to work or when we started some project, we sometimes cannot choose who do we follow. So in this case, uh, this chapter, the assumption is that we have been already trying to be very cooperative and then try to work things out with the leader. But then sometimes it just cannot work out. So from our side, there's no control. We have already focused on what we can control, and then there's no control about how others react or how their leadership, what is the level of their leadership. So for us in this chapter, what we want to focus is that what to focus on what we can control and to do the best that we can. So at this point, uh, at this point, we are already reaching the point that we have to decide whether is it to push the button lah. Basically, it's like to jump out of the normal to move to the next level, either to leave or to get a good result from here. So the strategy, these are the strategy that the book covers under this chapter. So it states the quote that how people treat you is their karma, how you react is yours. So again, this is what we want to focus on, to not be upset or be very much affected by their leadership style, but to focus on how we can improve the whole situation and try to make the best of it. So this under this chapter, right? The overall how it brings out the overall is that first question we'll be looking at normally how can we succeed, how can I succeed with a leader who is difficult to work with. So these are the ways that the steps that we can do to be to discuss and to come up with something else with the leader. And then it also breaks down into types of leaders that have extra things that you might need to look after, like leaders that doesn't like you, leaders that lacks vision, leaders that is indecisive and inconsistent, leaders that have attitude and character problems, and leaders that acts like bully, or leaders that always plays it safe. Then lastly, question 8 is about how can we help the leader and run the organization without in a respectful way, under him, but in a respectful way. So you got anything to add on?
One thing very important to remember is this: when we are doing this part on trying to succeed under poor leadership, there is no guarantee of success. Okay, this chapter is about increasing your possibility of success. Why? Success lies more in the hand of the leader than in you, because you are not the main leader. So in this case, you are assuming somebody has the full responsibility. You do not. So when you do not have the full responsibility, it is not. You have much less control over the success of the situation. So that's why in this chapter, always remember, there's no guarantee that even if you try doing what you can to work under poor leadership, you still cannot guarantee success. But what happened is you can increase the likelihood, Tony. Okay, you can increase the likelihood of maybe influencing the leader, and hopefully with sufficient constructive influence, the leader can contribute significantly to the success of whatever you are required to do in the team under that leadership. Okay? Yeah.
Okay, so next we'll be looking into the first question is to how can we succeed with a leader who is difficult to work with. So bad leaders comes with different types of people, and then they can create different kinds of difficulties. But then with bad leadership, we all know that the outcome is always the outcome is always bad, because only good the level of the organization can only goes as good as the leader is. So although different people have different types of problems, but in this first question we will try to create a process that can help to deal with this type of situation lah. So because more or less we will have to, this is because this is from our side, so we will have to make the decision. It's part of our control that we can make the decision that we can make. So if there is something, if you feel that under this leadership, it causes more problems than more effective work that can be done. So this is how we should proceed. So firstly is that to consider whether we might actually be the problem. So this is a very important first step, because we often people very easily see the problem of others, what others are doing wrong, but then when we ourselves do something wrong, we will be biasly be blind about it. So for us, before we start into considering is it their fault, we have to really evaluate on ourselves first, to be open-minded, and also to start looking whether is it really might be ourselves the wrong under ourselves first. So I think this one a lot of it happens when we see people who like to complain so much, and then they like to blame the things around them, and then but then actually it's their attitude or their mindset that fix them under the situation that they are experiencing. So it is very hard to go and talk to a leader when you yourself are actually having problems that actually most people feel about it. Yeah, so what we can do is also for us to talk to others and try to be open to understand whether do ourselves have any problem that we neglected. Yeah. So next, it's to determine whether you have specific evidence to support your opinion.
Okay, before we go on,
Yeah.
I want to go back to number one. Let's go in and look at what are all the possible way we can respond. I think working ending how to say having a situation at work under poor leadership is common, very common.
Yeah.
Why? Because there's no perfect leadership. Okay, there's none. So because there's no perfect leadership, you're bound to encounter some moment in time, even if the leadership is good, some moment in time that you disagree because because the leader also have their own weakness, and then when the weakness comes out, you can see it, and you recognize that that leader also got a problem. But of course, that one when the frequency of identifying or recognizing the problem in the leadership is low frequency, then you still don't lose your respect that much. But very often you have those half or more problem than good. It's quite common, especially in our Malaysian culture, work culture, where we have more boss kind of situation than leader kind of situation. There's a lot of circumstances where people are promoted based on seniority. People are promoted based on connection, right? People are hired simply because they hold a qualification, not necessarily because they are good leaders and have proven to be good leaders. So for ending up under that kind of scenario is very common. Now, what I want to ask now is this: for us who are under this kind of leadership, what are the different way we have seen or we find it possible for us to respond? Or at work, what kind of response do you see in yourself or in other people who happen to be under poor leadership or weak leaders? How do these people respond?
A very common one is start gossiping behind the leader's back.
Okay. Yep. Yes, I think frustrated is common. Once you are under poor leadership, Ginny says frustrated. Once you are under poor leadership, I think definitely frustrated already. Everybody is frustrated. If you're not frustrated, something is wrong. Okay. Basically, if you're not frustrated, that means you don't care. But if you care, you're bound to be frustrated. Right? Even sometimes you don't care under poor leadership, you'll be frustrated because you may not get what you would like to have in your career. Maybe you're not frustrated because I don't care. I still work 9 to 5. I still get my salary. But when it comes to year end, when it comes to promotion, when it comes to bonus, when it comes to whether your department staff get the reward due to improvement, your department don't get. You also end up in frustration. Now, what in frustration? Then Jameson say one thing, you begin to gossip behind. Very common. Why? We need to talk out because we are not sure, right? And in our frustration, we want to justify our frustration. So you want to gain the strength of numbers, the confidence of numbers. If I have more people agreeing with me about my comment of the leader, then I feel like, oh, I'm justified now to be angry with him. I think it's common. First thing, we are not sure. Hey, the guy is boss you. How can I be frustrated? Or how can I be angry? How sure am I that my evaluation of my boss or my leader is correct? But yet I'm frustrated. So it's common that I will go to try to get sort of an affirmation about my evaluation. Okay, is that good? Too much is no good. You may need to talk to check your evaluation. Maybe your evaluation is not correct. So talking to somebody else is good. Now, my question then is, if talking to somebody else to see whether your evaluation of the boss is correct or not is good, then to what extent will it become gossip? You see what I'm saying? Don't talk. Then you will never find out whether your evaluation is correct. Talk. When will you end up talking too much? Does that make sense? Does what I say make sense? Then what happened? What are the other options? What are the other response? When the conversation doesn't lead to positive change. Okay, very good. Jin Lee says that very good. That's why your motive for talking. We really have to check our motive for talking. Our motive for talking is what? Toxic or really to be proactive and bring about improvement. That's why motive is very crucial here. So when you are frustrated, you have to now determine your motivation and determine your goal, your direction. You have to determine. If you don't determine, right, it's possible that you will end up with the rest of the group and end up just gossiping behind because you have no objective in mind. You have no purpose in mind. You have no goal in mind for what you want to do. So you have no goal to deal with the frustration, to deal with the weakness. Talk the need. Tell the leader with intention to change. Correct. That's why your motive, your intention. So you have to determine your intention. So actually, this is habit 1. Habit 1. That's why when you consider whether you might actually be the problem, you really have to consider, will I be the solution? In other words. Okay? That means this question, consider whether you might actually be a problem, is not enough to me. Go one step further and apply 7 Habits Highly Effective People. Habit 1, proactive. Take responsibility, take charge, take responsibility and know that there are things you can still do and intend to do it. Whether it is enough to succeed in changing the leadership so that it changes the result of your team, don't know. But being proactive requires you to still do it and try. Whether you are doing it the best way or not, you know the correct way to do or not, also don't know. That's why there are some people, I will tell you some of the, to save a bit of time, I'll tell you some of the excuses or the reasons that people give. Yeah, got problem. But who am I to do anything? I am Ma Zai only what? I also not the boss. So what can I do? They are more experienced than me what? They know better than me what? And then they give themselves reason not to do anything and just wait. Become passive. So there are other responses. You are frustrated, you gossip, but they are also ignore. People who ignore, people who don't claim that, don't claim the possible. I mean, you are not fully responsible, but you are partially responsible. You have some level of responsibility as long as you are a member of the team under that leadership. You have some. And a lot of people fail to fulfill that some responsibility and they choose to become passive. That means they did not even take initiative to act upon that some responsibility that they might have and that some potential that they might have in turning the table around on the whole situation. They do not have full responsibility. They do not have full capability, but they have some. If you think you are Ma Zai only and give reason forever also Ma Zai, you will be. Yes, exactly. which is why for people who think like that, they don't take initiative. The likelihood they will never rise in leadership, because leadership take responsibility and take initiative. And that's why this question, how can I succeed with a leader who is difficult? And then it talks about what you can do. It's already talking about proactivity. It's talking about taking responsibility to take initiative to do something, even though you don't have all power and all responsibility. Okay? Top to what Sir say? What is top to what Sir say? Oh, to top up. Oh, okay. Yeah. Good. So what I want to say basically is this. Now, why I want to bring this up? It is crucial for us to, even at the beginning of this chapter, that every single one of us, if we are studying this book about leadership, and if we aspire to want to improve in our leadership, we will always end up in position, because we are not yet a leader, we will always end up in position under other leadership. And sure, we'll have some situation, situation where you will end up under poor leadership, and you will have to go through the struggle to decide not to be passive, to decide against staying quiet and minding your own business. And you will have the opportunity to do the correct thing, which is to take initiative and take responsibility, even though it's small, to take initiative to do something about it. And in doing something about it, later on in the other question, you will notice that you may end in trouble. You may end up in trouble. Okay? Because in your taking initiative, right, you may stir up the boss. Okay? And may end up more difficult for you. But nevertheless, to me, if you are studying this chapter and you are studying this book, you should not be giving yourself excuse not to do anything. Okay? So, in considering whether you might be actually the problem, please consider not to be the problem of doing nothing. Make sense? Any question? This is what I want to challenge you all to do. Okay? Now, of course, people like me who are high D, we will likely go too fast and jong pan and bang wall and create the problem, more problem unnecessarily, because we are too hasty. But for many of you, it's not. High D, high I people will go too fast. High C, high S people may choose not to go at all. And many in this group are high C, high S. So you may have a tendency not to do anything. And not doing anything, right, is a problem. Okay? Yeah. Any comment? No? Then, Jameson, pass back to you.
Okay. Okay, so after we consider whether we can do something about it, and of course we if we know the situation is bad, then we, as a leader, that for us, when if we aspire to be a leader and when we see the problem, we should be the one to try to be the solution also. So in order to move towards that, then we have to start to think about to step up and to talk with the leader. So in order to reduce problems in the future, then there are a few things that we need to consider also to increase the chances of success when we are going to talk with the leader. So next, it's about determine whether when we want to show evidence or to show opinion, we have to see whether do we have specific evidence. It's like preparing your bullets, preparing your bullets before you go to war. So for this part, for us, when we are to go to talk with someone who is have higher position than us, it is best that we try to be as influential or as confident in what we say. So we have to be specific, like such as what are the specific words that our leaders say, or what are the specific action then that they do during past events or past projects or during meeting that actually shows that these are actually hurting the whole progress or hurting the whole team. Then also we also have to examine their actions and what they did without emotion lah. So try to show to your leader that what has that action, how that impacted, what is the impact of the action, and how did it causes another problem, or how did it actually really affect. Then, yeah. This is for the second part.
One thing that will help in this second part, if you have gone through the DISC, then it will be helpful. How you present the evidence. I'm not talking about whether you have specific evidence. How do you approach with your evidence? If you remember the DISC, if you are approaching your leader who's a D, then make sure that you present the evidence that is easy, that is relevant for a D style. Because if you don't, the D cannot take it one. Okay? If your leader is an I, then you have to present in the I style. That is the best way for. That's why it ties into question 2 and to point 2 and 3, where determine whether you have specific evidence and then assess your influence and credibility with your leader. If you really want to influence your leader during when you approach your leader, then recognize their DISC personality style. Approach in the way suitable for their style will increase your influence and your impact with the confrontation. I can say this is like confrontation with your approach. Okay. If you forgot, then maybe next time you have to go through the DISC training one more time. Okay. A different one. When you approach a D, what do you do? If you're approaching an I, what do you do? If you're approaching an S, what do you do? If you're approaching a C, what do you do? Now, very likely leadership position, they either have some form of D, I, or C. Okay. You also have sometimes because of seniority situation. Sometimes high S also get promoted to be leader. Correct. Okay. Yeah. DISC. Just worthwhile to remember that, and then you approach. Don't approach your way. Approach their way. What they need. Okay, and that will increase your effectiveness to step 3. Okay, Gibson.
Okay. So next, it's about step 3. It's to assess how your influence and your credibility with your leader. So this one is also very important because if you have all your facts lined up, like everything, you know what you're going to say is correct, but if how you have been presented to your leader is you couldn't deliver what you promised, or you always last minute didn't show up, things like that. So it already have your credibility already. It's already low in their eyes. Then it's very most likely that a lot of things, whatever that you say, they will filter with and then they most likely will not accept, even though what you say is correct lah. Yeah, so this is very important. Sometimes also not because of what you done, but also because of what he or she heard from others. Maybe it is not the truth or half truth. Yeah, so for us, we also have to try to understand how our words carry with the boss, how they see us, and for this, we can talk. If we are not sure, then we might talk to our co-workers, or maybe another leader that is probably same rank with them, and see and be open. Try to be open to listen how it's the situation lah, the actual situation is, what is his or her impression, or how does he or she rank or rank you like that. So anything for this point?
This point reminds us that build your level of influence with everybody. You will never know when it will be needed to be used. Like in this case, when you want to use this, when you want to talk to your leader, it is your past and how much effort you have put in your past to build the level of influence with your leader that determine now your present effectiveness in talking to your leader. Realize this. That's why it always bear in mind effectiveness in life. Today's effectiveness is based upon yesterday's action. So it's worthwhile for us to remember we mustn't take for granted and miss the opportunity to build tomorrow's influence. In other words, what I'm going to say. Okay, that is what this is. By the time you assess, you want to take action already, that's it. Okay, you cannot build any more influence already. It's time for action already. And the outcome of your action is now going to be very dependent on the amount of influence you have already built yesterday. Okay, James.
Okay. So okay. So next it's the fourth point is to think through every possible outcome. So after when we assess whether we are okay to are we the most suitable person to talk to the leader, then if we have the credibility and we feel that we have the influence, then we also need to think through every possible outcome. So for us is that if we are not going to accept the outcome, then there's no point that we going to have this discussion, right? So it is always important to think through what are the outcome or what are the resolution that will come out from this discussion with the leader. So then also at the same time, we have to think about what type of response that you might get. So go understand your leader. This is important. This is important for you to gather the information like from your past experience. How did what do you see from him or her, and then how do they respond to confrontation or to other people's opinion, or then this might help to predict how their response is, and then you also from your prediction, then you plan your next step. So like this, then only you can be as prepared lah, so that you likely know what is going to be the outcome before you go in to talk. So you got think, right?
No.
Okay, so next, after going through all this, then at this point, if you are okay with the outcome, then it's time to make the decision. So when you decided to take action, then you should start to like find a way or find a time to talk to a leader. Then if you decided that it is not suitable or it's not it's better not to talk with the leader, then you should either accept your situation or maybe think that it's time to uh, look for a better environment out there. Yeah. So the important message is that if you accept what is this, then don't complain about it because you already think through and accepted. Then for you, what the best thing that you can do is to continue to do the best that you can in your situation. Yeah. Okay. Then after that, point number 6, it's to, so after you decided to act, then how to act, how to speak to your leader. So one of the worst mistakes is that you criticize or call them out publicly. So this always, when you talk to them in front of when you confront them in front of so many people, in front of other followers, this is most likely will come to a lose-lose situation because we also have to be careful of the leader's ego lah. I would say, yeah. So the best way is still to speak to the leader privately. Then when we then come to point number 7, when we meet our leader, then this point number 7 is meet, outline your complaint and seek a collaborative solution. So when we are meeting our leader, one thing that we have to keep in mind is that what is the goal of this discussion. So the main point is to look for a positive resolution in order to achieve effectiveness in the whole team, to be able to work effectively lah. So when we present our evidence, it's best that we present it in a positive, non-threatening, and non-accusatory as much as possible. So we don't want to blame. We don't want to play the blame game, and then don't want to show ourselves as like attacker, but actually we want to help. Instead, we want to show that actually we are here to help to improve the whole situation. Yeah. So try to explain in a nice way that why you find it difficult to work under him or her, and there's anything that both of us can do to help progress more positively. After the discussion, you might get different responses. Like maybe it's a good one, then it's good. Then you can, if you can accept it, then proceed with it. But if the leader turns defensive or come out with something that you are unsure with, remember think win-win. So don't because of fear or because of the situation, and you go and accept a win-lose situation that doesn't improve overall, doesn't improve the overall. So if you are unsure about it, then ask for time to think through again, because can always have second discussion or maybe even third discussion to improve the situation. Yeah. So anything you want to add on?
If you cannot solve the problem in the first meeting, increase the influence from the first meeting. That's why your goal has number 1 and number 2. Of course, your main goal is to solve the problem, whatever problem you have. But if it cannot be solved, I think there's a secondary goal. The secondary goal is to increase your influence with him, with your leader, so that next time you go and talk, you have a better chance. So the common mistake I remember I've made, also I've seen a lot of people make, is that they go in with one objective only, that is to solve the problem. And when it could not be solved, then ended badly. And when it ended badly, you lost the secondary goal as well. That means in the future, you don't have better influence. You also destroy whatever influence you have, especially if it ended badly. So that's why worthwhile to have two goals in mind: primary goal and secondary goal, to make sure your primary goal get achieved. But secondary goal is within your control. So that's why you should be able to achieve at least your secondary goal, even if you could not achieve your primary goal. So that's why when you go through this, when you go through 6 and 7, okay, have this in mind as well, so that you end the meeting well, so that it keeps the door open for the next meeting. Okay, Jameson.
Okay, so after there is a solution from the meeting, then it might be a good one or it might be a bad one. Then you have to make a decision. So to determine whether you should stay or it's time to move on. So depends on the outcome. Maybe the outcome is not as good as you thought it would be, and it already caused some damage to the relationship between you and your boss. So sometimes it is best to leave it broken than you hurt yourself trying to put it back, trying to force it back. So one question that is helpful that the book says for us to determine whether do we want to stay is that if I weren't already working here, knowing what I know now, would I want to become part of this organization? Which is put aside the emotional feelings that we have been working here for some years, then be rational to think about the situation here, then consider as you haven't come in, then would you still want to join? Maybe the reason for you to join is not purely because of the leader, but also the organizational larger goal. Yeah, then you might consider something else like transfer to a different department or to work under a different leader lah, per se. Yeah, so depending on your goal of your employment or your your goal, that why do you want to join. So next is that lastly, if you decided not to move on and decided that okay, you can stay, but then and working with you decided to stay and work with the leader, then under this leadership you might want to ask these two questions: will I be able to add value, or will I be able to stay true to myself? So if both of these working under the leadership, you cannot add value to the team or to the organization, and it is hard for you to stay true to yourself, to be who you are, then it is better to leave. So, but if you can achieve these two under the leadership, then you will need to give your best in the things you do and publicly support the leader. So this doesn't mean that you compromise your own value, but then just when it comes to discussion, you show your own opinion and you stand firm to your own value. But if the leader decided make a decision the other way, then you also have to publicly remain supportive lah, and then never criticize the leader, because for a group effort to work, it needs every individual commitment lah, like what Vince Lombardi say. So you cannot afford to have a team that have two different direction, or two different group of people that have different opinion lah. Yeah. So anything like that?
Sometimes you can have values, differing values that do not conflict each other. That's where you can still stay. They are not the same values, but they are not in opposite conflict. Does that make sense? Sometimes you can be like that. Their values slightly different from yours. You may not agree totally with their values, but it doesn't have. It's not like it's opposite. Meaning, if the leader apply their value, it's going to conflict with your value. No, it won't. You can still apply your value and yet create improvement to your boss value or your leader's value, and vice versa. Now that's the situation where you can choose to say. But if the value system contradict, then you shouldn't. Meaning, if your boss value is totally opposite from your value system, staying you cannot lie. You cannot. You won't be able to publicly support your leader like that. Okay, so that's why look at your value system. Is it does it stand in conflict? Basically, okay. That means when you apply one value, the other one cannot work, and vice versa. Then basically you cannot stay. Okay. Otherwise you can. Now the other thing I just want to say basically is this: you will never find a perfect, ideal Very rarely you will find a perfectly ideal work environment with exactly same value system, right? The leader's value system, the company's value system, and your value system. Very rarely. Okay. If you find a non-conflicting value system, I think it's very good already. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Jameson.
Okay. Um, so I think next we'll be moving into different types of leader that you might find difficult to work with. So first one, which is the question two, is that how to work with a difficult leader that doesn't like you. So working under people who doesn't like us, normally there are three types of response for majority people that will have. It's either you hide from the person, that you try to stay away or avoid the person, or try to hinder the person. Uh, Under hinder the person, so you might you might see responses like we become not cooperative, like whatever that is the task that is given, you just don't do it very well. Then lastly, it's the third response you might see, it's harm the person. This is the worst of all lah, to try to punish the person who doesn't like us. So for us, what we should do is to try to find a better way to improve the whole situation. So for us, first thing, to be able to understand. First thing we need to do is to be able to understand our own emotion. To how does it feel to work under this type of leaders? So if they don't like us, if they doesn't like us, so how do we feel? And we have to process our emotion in a way that we recognize them, but we don't want to allow the negative emotion to influence our decision making and further influence how we lead other people. So we have to acknowledge them very regularly, and then for any hurt feelings, we need to let go and try to move on. Yeah. So next, it's to look for common ground to improve the relationship between you and your boss. So it might be because of what you did last time, or maybe your values are contradict with their values, then causes them to not like you. So you need to, so to improve the situation, we try to look for something that is common between both of you and work on that lah. Both the points that both of you have and can have an agreement on it to improve the situation. So next, it's about being consistently pleasant. So what does this mean is that don't when people show that they doesn't like you, don't try to act like a hedgehog. Don't try to curl yourself up and spike back. Instead, show them kindness and then be kind to them. So this is the of course it's hard, but the strongest character then that you can show is to show kindness lah, under this type of situation. So kind to people that doesn't like you. Then after that, it's solving problems. So for one of the best way that you can show yourself to impress people or to improve others' perception on you, it's to be able to solve problems. This one, I think is very common because people hire your boss hire you or your organization hire you. It's for you to solve problem very very logically. Then this is how you can increase your value to try to offer your solution or offer offer a good solution to make your boss job easier. Then the attitude towards you will most likely will be better because you help him or her to be help him or her lives become better. Then lastly, it's to try to go the extra mile. This one really helps people to change their perception or improve how they look at you, because people will definitely recognize those people who are willing to go the extra mile, or the separate them, able to see and separate them with those people that just want to finish their job and only do them averagely well. So focus on what you can do and do the best lah. Do the best that you can in your task. Then this might improve, might give more reasons for them to like you. Yeah. So you got anything to add on for this one?
This part usually happen much later in your career lah, when you are sort of reaching near the top of your career at the time. When your career begin to show your leadership position begin to rise. You're not at the top, but you're near the top. This is where circumstances like this will happen, where you have conflict with your leader, which often is due to different value system. Okay, this is where you probably have to apply. When you are low in your leadership, when you are early in your leadership journey, seldom. Okay. Not that it doesn't have it, or seldom happen that seriously. Okay. Jameson.
Hello. Okay. Okay. So next it's about how can we work under a leader who lacks vision. So as we all know, the important to be able to guide or lead the team to reach to be able to achieve something larger than us. We need vision. So what can we do if we have leaders that lacks vision, that doesn't know what to do, or that doesn't have the bigger picture in their mind? So for us, what we can do is to tap into the organization's larger vision. So if we work for an organization that is uh, huge and have their own vision, then we can try to see or to think about how is our department or our team fit into the company's vision. Like last time, we have organizational vision, then we have departmental goals, like that. So try to help your leader to understand how can we achieve under this organization, or how can we how the team that he is leading can work best under this organization. How can it provides the best value, and how can we advance significantly under the organization? Then if we are working with a much smaller organization, like only your boss and a few employees, then you are directly under the boss, and you realize that your boss doesn't have a vision for the organization. So maybe if you are a good visionary, or if you understand what is it, what vision is suitable for the organization to succeed, then help to develop the vision and share it with your leader lah. So if your influence is strong, then he might be able to he might be able to accept it. And then to be able to do this, we have to keep in mind that the vision have to be consistent with our leaders' goals and values. So if we are to suggest something that he doesn't agree, or is not under what he thinks is important, then also it might not work, because he most likely will go back to what he think most important lah. Like yeah, like last time the suggesting the like last time Sagi, that time what the principal focus on, and what we are trying to what our vision is, it cannot align, then it most likely it won't work out. Yeah. So then for ourselves, if how do we protect ourselves, or to preserve our own momentum under the leadership that lacks vision? So for this, we try to develop our own sense of purpose. It's again back this one back to your own life vision, lor. Like what do you see, what is your vision, and what do you want to achieve with your life. So this will help you to reduce, no matter in where you work or what you do, and this will reduce the impact of the impact from the leader who lacks vision, because you know already what you want and what energizes you. So with your own purpose, then you can be able to drive yourself to do things that you is important to you. Yeah. So in this book, it also gives a few suggestions. It's to be able to discover your own sense of purpose. It's to listen to your own inner voice. That is where you receive your mission. Listen to the unhappy voice, to listen to what people are unhappy with. Then this might give you idea of what you can do. Then listen to the successful voice. Then this is where you get your advice. Listen to the customer's voice. This is where you get your feedback. And listen to the higher voice. Then this is where you receive your attitude. So you got anything to add on for this question?
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Okay, so next is that how would you work with a difficult leader who is indecisive and inconsistent? So for this, we all know that if a leader is being indecisive and always inconsistent, then first thing for indecisive, it remains stagnant. Our if problems already arise and then the leader still fear to make decision or worrying too much, then the problem cannot be solved and it stays there. Then if a leader is inconsistent, like first they decide to do this, then after that they decide another thing 1 week later, and another week another thing, then also it causes your work, you cannot know what to do, and then there will be no progress in your work also. So for this kind of situation, what can we actually do? So what can we actually do is that first is to ask permission to make the decision. If because some most of the time the problems, the best way to solve an organizational problems is come from the lowest position, because the frontliners are the ones that know the problem well and to be able to solve it correctly. So if you know what needs to be done, then ask whether they are willing to let you make the decision. Then after that, offer to start small with minor decisions if they are not really sure whether they want to allow the seat, if they are unsure about your decision. Yeah. So if the decision is too big, then you can offer to start with smaller ones. Then from there, you can also build your credibility and improve their confidence in you. Then next, it's to offer to help in your leader's process decision. So if the leaders they are not willing to let you make the decision, then what you can do is that you can offer your help in their decision making process. So if they are not willing to release the decision making, then offer privilege process decision. Then from what you can do is within the discussion, during the discussion, gather the information and gather information to them, and then define the problem. Tell them what is the problem that we are facing, and then offer varieties of solution, and also explain the implication of the solutions. Then after that, ask for a decision from them. So if they are not willingly to come to a conclusion, then try to ask for feedback to narrow down the options that. Sometimes if they still won't decide because of their own indecisiveness, or they still don't really know what to do, then try to get the leader to commit to a deadline. Then in the end, during the deadline, land the decision. So what happened if the both of them, also the leader, not willing to accept? First, they don't want to let you make the decision. Then second, they also not willing to invite you or allow you to offer to help in their decision making process. So in this case, you really have to ask back your leader. Be very direct with them, but privately lah. Like for the indecisive leader, I will ask them, what do you want me to do when a decision must be made, but you are not making it? So this shows the frustration that shows him that you are frustrated. And then because sometimes for indecisive leaders, they are also indirectly trying to push the responsibility to you. So you have to be firm and then know that this is not your responsibility to make. You can help, but then you are not going to do it for them. So this is how you confront it to them so that they make the decision themselves. Then, whereas for inconsistent leader, so you also have to tell them that previously you have decided like this, then how do you want me to proceed now that you have decided this? So again, this one is let them know that the behavior that they show are causing trouble to the work that you the value or the effectiveness of the work that you can done. Yeah. So anything to add on for this question?
No, go ahead.
Right. Okay. So for fifth, this one is how would you work with a difficult leader who has attitude and character problems. So one of the sorry. For attitude and character problems, this is one of the greatest danger that we have in our workplace. That attitude problems, such as sorry, attitude problems are contagious. So it is very dangerous because it will push down. It will affect other person, and then it will cause other person be to affected by the attitude problems, like not putting all out in everything you do, or character problems such as people who like to cheat or cut corners, like they do things without following the without doing the right thing lah, in other words. So for us who know that our leaders that are not doing the right thing, then in order to not to be influenced by the environment, we have to live on a higher level ourselves. If we don't want to allow others to influence us, or don't want to let ourselves to be compromised by their values, so what we need to really do is to hold ourselves to the highest possible standard, to to set things to set the standard high, so that we don't accept we don't accept the level of, or the standard that it is common to this in this workplace. Then for you can also lead uh, you can also be a positive influence that try to lead others to work together with you as well. Then next, it's to separate yourself from negative influence as much as possible. So if you cannot uh, if you have done your best to try to be to try to set the example or set the standard, but then it is really hard because the leader and the whole team or the organizational culture, it's such a negative, or they have been practicing the wrong way that you doesn't agree with, because you know that it is not the right thing to do. So for you, even if uh, distance yourself away really doesn't help, then you should consider leaving your position. It is not worth trading your integrity for your job. Yeah. Stay true to yourself lah. In other words, know that if you know that this is the right thing to do, stay firm and then stay true to yourself. Then lastly, it's to prevent problems, to prevent to deal with leaders with character problems. it is best that we put things in writing as much as possible, which is to prevent ourselves get into trouble, to try to leave everything in black and white, so that we can so that help ourselves when people are not honest or others want to just get rid of their responsibility. So anything that you want to add on?
This is toughest, huh? This is really tough, huh? Generally, I would advise leave the organization already. Usually, don't stay already. Because basically, you see, if you remember your point 2, separate yourself from negative influence as much as possible. What's the best way to separate yourself from negative influence? Leave the team. Okay? Especially when you know you're working with a leader which you cannot influence, and they have they are living they are leading based on bad attitude and poor character, and you have no influence over them. If you have influence, you still can stay. Okay, if you don't have influence or don't have significant influence, my advice for you to leave. Because if you stay with the rotten apple, you will become rotten. Right? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so next it's to so the next type of difficult leader is that how would you work with a difficult leader who acts like a bully? So
Jameson,
yeah,
it's already 10:30 something.
something 10:30.
And yeah, I don't think you can finish because still got 6, 7, 8, right?
Yeah, 6, 7, 8.
Want to postpone to continue next week?
Can.
I think more appropriate lah,
More
because
appropriate,
if you go on, it's gonna be 11 something.
Yeah.
So I think worthwhile to at least 3 questions for next week.
Okay. Can.
Because otherwise late lah. Let them go to sleep lah. These people all working very hard.
Yeah. Okay, my bad. Okay.
No worries. You are busy leading. So I only remind you time only.
Okay. So any questions?
Yeah. On your slides, how many more slides do you have?
Let me see. About 10.
Yeah, cannot.
Yeah. 10 to
10 cannot.
15.
Yeah.
10 plus lah. 10
cannot. Too many.
Correct.
Yeah. 3-4 minutes per slide. 3-4 minutes per slide. Also, you need about 40 minutes, 40-50 minutes. Yeah. You will end up 11 something, 12 o'clock early. So next week lah.
Okay. Yeah, next week can. Okay. So we'll stop here. Any questions from the floor?
You all will notice one thing. This chapter, when you're dealing with difficult bosses, to apply, you have to have sufficient personal security, If not, very difficult to apply. if you are not secure and strong enough personally, that means your self leadership must be sufficiently strong and secure. Otherwise, very difficult to apply. Okay, because the pressure is very high. You have to stand firm. Basically, you are required to stand firm and stand strong internally in the midst of an environment that is not very positive. Okay, it's like standing strong in a storm. Okay, because when you have a poor leadership, when your leader is poor, when your team leader is poor, when the organization leader is poor, it creates a stormy environment, right? So and yet you are supposed to try to be firm enough, strong enough, firm enough, secure enough to influence the leader. So you need to be. If you are not strong enough, you're not secure enough. Very difficult. This is where you all need to work on your self leadership. That's why you all need to apply your sense of conviction about yourself, and you must now begin to apply the little things that you know is right to do. Once you are familiar and once you get into the habit of applying and doing what is right in small things, to talk to your leader is a big thing. It's not a small thing. Yeah, then you will be able to be a bit more secure to talk to your leader, which is quite a big thing, right? Yeah, otherwise not easy. You won't be able to just one day suddenly be able to go and talk to your leader who is not a very good leader. Very tough lah, very tough.
Yeah.
Okay, and don't even say talk. Make a stand, to make your stand against your leader if you don't agree with your leader, also tough. Okay, yeah. I still remember a lot of times for me, even for me, Heidi, Heidi very, very impulsive to stand against one. I still remember Sagi quite tough. Quite tough. Yeah, some of you in Sagi, you all know. Because the boss value system keep changing and very unstable one, and eventually also I realized that what he say and what he does is not consistent. Wow, tough man. So anyway, yeah.
Okay. So I think that's all for tonight.
Okay. No question all.
Okay, good night.
Okay, thank you,
very much.
Jameson.